Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Action Comics issue 1007, and Jimmy Olsen gets some tail. Or at least he certainly tries. Unfortunately, per Jimmy, he's kind of a beta male. He's not too bright, doesn't even know how to hide a camera when he's taking pictures. He hits on a pretty hot chick. She takes him, but unfortunately, like all hot chicks, they're a little bit loopy. And, she ends up being, surprise, surprise, a psycho. Who knew? Anyways, yeah, she loves Leviathan. She loves being a member of a terrorist organization. And while that's pretty hot, I'm sure Jimmy's got to play it right now. Jimmy, he's got a girlfriend now. I don't know if he just stumbled upon her, if she stumbled upon him, but she seems like she really likes him. She just happens to, kind of be thinking like a terrorist. But, I think it's Bendis' way of, creating a longer tale here, that this is a longer narrative, that it's so easy for your typical average American to get sucked into terrorist organizations, because, it happens all the time, right? At least it does in the DC universe, right? It happens. It happens. And, this is a... Let's talk about the cover here. The cover's beautiful. Steve Epting is the artist here. Brian Bendis is, of course, the writer. Anderson is on the colors. Beautiful art, man. The art in this issue is just really good. I can't complain here. Faith to Kali Yuga, which is, I guess, for Leviathan. This is a new feminist organization. No, it's not that violent, I'm sure. It's Leviathan Rises is the issue. And, this is actually, we jumped from one secret organization of the Red Mist, and now there's another secret organization that's not so secret, Leviathan Rising. Now, the last time I heard the word Leviathan was in the pages of The Silencer, because The Silencer is someone who works for Talia al Ghul, who is in fact the leader of Leviathan. So I'm wondering if it's the same Leviathan in The Silencer that is the Leviathan in the pages of Action Comics. I'm assuming that it is, but who knows? Bendis does his own thing. Bendis rarely paid attention to what other writers were doing when he was at Marvel, so it's very possible he's not paying much attention to what's going on elsewhere in the DC universe here. In any event, though, the art here is fantastic. Jimmy, of course, tries to take some pictures. And, of course, Jimmy's treated like a complete idiot by other members. Perry White treats him like a moron. Clark Kent doesn't even pay much attention to him. The dialogue here, again, it's an ongoing thing with Bendis. The dialogue here just is a little bit... It gets a little frustrating at times. It's really... It's laughable when you read the dialogue out loud, that you can really see that this is not how normal people talk. Morning, Mr. White. Why? Why am I in your office? Why are you like this in general? I fell asleep. Are you asking me? Useless, totally pathetic dialogue. Why are we getting dialogue like this? Just give us substance. Move the story along, Bendis. This is not really helping us. And, Perry giving Jimmy Olsen crap. Why doesn't Jimmy Olsen just tell him, look, I got a girlfriend, she's nuts, she's psycho, I want to get laid, but at the same time, I want to basically sleep with her before you find out she's a terrorist. Why doesn't he tell Clark Kent that? Work it out. There's no reason, Jimmy, why you can't get laid before you dump her. This is all strategic, man. This is something you should talk to Clark Kent about. Now, I'm thinking to myself, well, Clark Kent's kind of a loser. He's kind of a beta male, so you probably don't want to talk to Clark Kent. You probably want to talk to somebody else. So this is where, if you're writing this naturally, how this would play out in real life, Jimmy would naturally look for somebody who's not a beta male like Clark, because Jimmy wants to be able to nail this woman before he's got to dump her upon finding out that she's in fact a terrorist. Now, he knows she's a terrorist, or she's part of a terrorist organization. She's not a terrorist, she's just a victim. She's just a little slow-going, maybe want to be feminist, want to change the world, not realizing that, I'm regressive left, I'm going to cause more problems than not, etc., etc., etc. So this is fairly realistic in many ways. Now, the key is, the biggest takeaway for me in this comic is Jimmy needs to get laid. Now, the problem, of course, his girlfriend is part of this organization. So the real mystery should be, how is Jimmy going to get laid while at the same time, then after he gets laid, dump the woman who clearly is part of the Leviathan? Now, he's in a little conundrum here, because he's got to be thinking with his little head and his big head. Now his little head is telling him, get in there. But his big head's saying, wait, you got to take some pictures of Leviathan, and you got to make money, and Perry White, your boss, wants some good pictures. Well, unfortunately, Jimmy's kind of an idiot, and Jimmy doesn't even try to hide the fact with this camera when he's taking pictures at this massive rally of Leviathan, and he just screws the whole thing up. And he's not even honest with the staff when he gets back. He doesn't tell Perry what's going on. He doesn't tell Clark what's going on. He's just really, just nuts. He should really go talk to Steve Lombard and say, Steve, I need your help. Because Steve Lombard can help him. Because even though you might not like Steve Lombard, I guarantee you the guy's got more tail than Clark Kent. That's just a fact. Again, if we want to get all real, like Bendis is bringing the real life storytelling, then get real, Bendis, and actually tell something that's realistic. All right? Now, of course, we get the unrealistic portion again, more of the bad dialogue. Lois decides to have a conversation with her dad and finally tell her dad, Sam Lane, that her husband, Clark Kent, is Superman. Again, nonsensical. For some reason, Lois Lane decides to tell her dad, General Lane, who is, of course, known, who has tried to harm Superman in the past, who's always had his secrets, always had his own agenda, etc., etc., etc. She's going to tell her dad that her husband is Superman, that Clark is Superman. I mean, Lois, did you even discuss this with Clark? I mean, who the hell do you think you are? I mean, it's bad enough that Lois treats Clark like garbage in issue 1004 when she doesn't even bother to reveal to Clark, her own husband, that she's been back for for how many days from space, doesn't even bother to confide in him about what happened to their son. It's appalling behavior, the way she wants to redefine the relationship, the way that, because somehow believing that, well, because you're Superman and because I'm Lois Lane, world-winning reporter, we could do our relationship however we like. And of course, Clark, Superman, who, despite being Superman, he's a beta male when it comes to relationships. Totally beta, not going to stand up for himself. Lois walk all over him. And then of Lois, I'm sure at some point is going to tell Clark, oh, by the way, Clark, I decided that my dad deserves to know what your secret identity is, so I just told him, by the by. So that's how that goes. So again, the emasculation of Clark Kent continues. And again, and also through just generally speaking, the dialogue is actually not as bad as I thought it would be for Lois talking to her dad. But again, doesn't quite get right to the point. And then Sam Lane saying to Lois, is this for real? As if somehow Lois would just make all that up. Of course, Lois does sort of talk in circles in the typical Bendis way. Basically, she talks exactly like you would expect, like Jessica Jones to talk over at Marvel, right? That's kind of what she sounds like here, which shouldn't be surprising, but in any event, the issue just ends with Superman catching Amanda Waller, who is apparently thrown from the sky, and then there's a great sequence here where it shows Superman rushing toward Amanda Waller and catching her, shows his super speed in action. That's pretty great, beautifully drawn by Steve Epting. So the art's fantastic. Why Amanda Waller decides to scream out the fact that she works for, she screams out at Superman, yelling at him that she works for Task Force X, and she had deep intel, again, screaming this out in the middle of a public street, it just seems so odd. How stupid is Amanda Waller? Again, little things like this, just not connecting the dots. That's not something Amanda Waller would do. So it's not really the voice of Amanda Waller. And then Amanda Waller disappears. Not really sure exactly what's going on here, other than the fact that Bendis, unfortunately, is, before he's wrapping up, and he's clearly establishing multiple subplots here, and he's not finishing anything up. Now we got a Leviathan subplot, we got the Red Mist subplot, now we're getting another one, and it's just, I don't know, it's not really, I mean, I'm interested maybe in Leviathan, but I'd also like some resolution to the Red Mist storyline. So why don't you finish one plot line before you start another one, Or maybe they're all related, but in any event, guys, tell me what you think of Action Comics. out of a 10, story-wise, I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Art, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Tell me what you guys think. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40. Until next time, Comic Boom, out.